Here is a quick update. I believe I'm on part 5 of this tank setup. Last thing I did for the video was a silicone test to see which silicone bonds to acrylic the best. I found out that it was this stuff. Will it auto zoom? Nope, it won't auto zoom. Alright, hang on guys. This is basically my new favorite silicone. 100% silicone sealant for plastic sheets and other plastics. GE product. I found this at Home Depot next to the sheets of acrylic and Lexan and stuff like that. I ran a test of this on acrylic and it had to be shaved off. You couldn't pull it off without breaking it. And then I've also thrown it on glass, and you know, it sticks to glass just as hard. So glass to acrylic, this is the new stuff. This is just an easy small squeeze bottle, but it comes in the big long caulk tubes as well. So being that, I gutted the whole tank and redid all the acrylic pieces with that caulk instead. Tested the water in the bellows. It's been holding water for several days, both sides. I just filled the main compartment with water. This is the generic water level that it's going to be. It's about 6.5, 7 inches of water, basically. The reason why I really got no need to test, you know, the compartments, because I already have. I have water in here because the seal of silicone on the inside there, the stuff from the previous owner, whatever, that repaired this tank, the silicone was shit and just kind of starting to peel away, so I shaved off that entire length of internal tank there, from one divider to the other divider. It was only peeling off in the center. I don't know, about 8 inches in the center here, but I just decided to shave all of it and replaced it with my new favorite silicone. So right now I'm going to make sure that that's sealed, and that's why this has water. The other thing I did, man, I sure hope I don't drop my phone in this, is instead of the black waterfall divider that I originally was going to go with, I decided on hitting up the local glass store in my hometown here and just got some glass dividers. This was before I did my acrylic test, my acrylic silicone test. So I mainly did this for pressure. Having silicone issues, and basically online the only thing that solved it was just really sealing silicone around the acrylic. So when you go around the acrylic, it sticks to the glass just fine. So basically you're just making a cement wall that hugs and pinches the acrylic on. That's pretty much what everybody's doing on the World Wide Web. So now that I did my test and I have a new favorite silicone, I didn't really need to do this, but whatever, it's nice, you know. I think it cost a total of $12 to get this in a nice thick glass, and then 2 thinner pieces of glass there. And I just used GE silicone 2 to mold those in. Again, this was all before I did the silicone to acrylic test. So now I'll just forever use that one silicone because it works just as well on acrylic, Lexan, plastic, and glass. There's no reason to swap silicones back and forth. My next test that I'm doing is, well, I have one going at a lab, but I can't show you that. It's against some rules. But I have my GE silicone 2 basement, then I have my new GE 100% silicone sealant, then I have that GE kitchen, bath, and plumbing. This is all on glass, and we all know that I haven't found a brand of silicone that doesn't love glass. So these all stick to glass phenomenally. Anyway, that's not the test. The test is I'm going to take my new favorite silicone, which is the middle one here, and I'm going to put a bead directly on top all three of these, just to see how well this silicone sticks to other silicone. General rule of thumb on the internet right now is that silicone does not stick to silicone. Well, that information is basically from the 80s, so adhesives have come a long way in the last, new century. But so that's my new test. My new test is I'm just going to see how well silicone is now sticking to silicone. The whole, you have to strip a whole tank out and get rid of all the silicone to re-silicone it. I mean, obviously that's the cleanest way to do it, but if you're ever in a pinch and just need the silicone over a certain area, or can do it without making it look totally horrific by big giant globs of silicone over silicone, yeah, I'm going to find out. So that's my latest test. This stuff over here is curing. I'm giving it 7 days. I know it doesn't need 7 days, but that's just my general rule of thumb is I'm giving this 7 days. It's been curing for, I want to say 4. Right now, maybe 3. I'd have to look at my sheet that I wrote down the time on. But once that's done, I will put a bead of this silicone on top. This is the one I'm going to use from now on, so I don't really care to test these other two. So I'll put a bead of this silicone on top of here, on top of here, and on top of here. See if it adheres well to itself, and see if it adheres well to the commonly used silicone, and see if it adheres well to like cheaply used silicone. That's the basis that my test is going to be. The other test I'm doing is there's a lot of myths on the internet about silicone leaching into the water supply and killing off tanks. Personally, what I've concluded is that the silicone isn't actually leaching anything into the tank unless it's not fully cured. The reason behind this is because the properties of silicone are chemically inert. And the definition of inert means that once it's cured, it doesn't affect anything around it. It's like glass. You put glass in water, the glass doesn't bleed any chemicals into the water because glass is inert. So once silicone is cured and you put it in water, it's inert. It should be inert. It's used in cookware. It's used in all kinds of crap. Because of the simple fact of 100% silicone is inert. So anyway, lots of myths and what-ifs and scary unknowns on the internet, so I'm doing a test. Aquafina holds 0 chemical properties. If anybody's ever taken a bottle of Aquafina to a lab and tested it, it's got nothing in it. It's like completely baseline of 0 across the board. I was told Dasani's the same way. I've never personally tested it, but I have personally tested Aquafina. So I took 4 bottles of Aquafina, opened one, that's my my base, and then opened the other 3, put a bead of silicone that had cured for 7 days into the bottles. Left the top of the bottles open. These are just 20-ounce bottles. Left the top of the bottles open on all 4 of them, and a different brand in the other 3, including my new favorite silicone. So 20-ounce bottle with a long bead. It just is basically the same as having a ton of silicone exposed in a very small amount of water. So if there's any effect whatsoever, it will be super evident. I'll test the water for the chemicals that are inside the silicone, see if it's leaching out and bleeding into the system. So far it hasn't, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a month, and it's only been a couple days. People that have said that they've used silicone and killed off their tanks, I have a theory, and my theory is that their silicone wasn't fully cured when they started putting their tank together. Now, somebody might say, well, I let it cure for 6 days. Okay, that's fantastic. But, you know, there's a reason why this bottle of silicone, I can still use this, and it's been sitting here for several months. Because the silicone is wrapped in a container, and there's a lot of it inside, so it keeps itself contained, meaning it keeps itself in liquid form. If you've ever used up silicone, a silicone tube, like if you look at this one, I don't know if you can tell, but it's frickin' spent. If I were to start squeezing out of this, I would get a really, really crappy silicone product because the stuff in there is already starting to cure. And the reason for pointing that out is if you do a big long bead across an entire tank and then go to another corner and back and whatnot, the cure times on the bottles are actually for a very small ppm, and if you have a big huge glob of it somewhere, and I shouldn't even say big huge glob, but just normal than the normal ppm per the cure time, it's going to take longer to cure. I've actually taken silicone apart, cut bellows out of a tank before, where the silicone had been applied to it months ago, and the inside of the silicone was still not fully cured. So because if you're fully given the silicone a complete 100% sealant, which you're trying to with an aquarium, especially when you make bellows, you don't want the water getting into the top of the bellow or leaking in if there are certain kind of dividers for certain things. You're also trapping the silicone inside a sealed container just like a caulk tube. So the silicone's just going to take longer to cure. It's just plain simple fact. So if anybody knows the curing properties of silicone, to dry to cure, the silicone bleeds, outgasses ammonia and alcohol. Ammonia and alcohol fumes. So that is the curing properties of silicone. If you've ever smelled silicone where you're applying it, it frickin' stinks. Well, you're smelling ammonia mixed with alcohol. It's pretty rancid stuff. If you take big whiffs of it, it'll burn your nose, burn your eyes, all that kinds of stuff. Well, it's ammonia and alcohol, and that's what ammonia and alcohol does to the human body. So, if you had a bubble of silicone, and it had a small amount of silicone in there that was still curing, let's say you let it cure for 4 days, and you had this, I don't know, maybe paintball-sized glob or even a BB-sized glob of silicone that still hadn't dried yet. The first thing is the seal around it somewhere isn't fully sealed, because the silicone is constantly bleeding out or outgassing, so it's not airtight. Otherwise, that silicone cannot get out. The second it becomes airtight, if for some reason it somehow dries even while it's outgassing, which is possible but just unlikely, that silicone is going to stay wet for a really, really long time, uncured for a really, really long time, and it's just going to gradually outgas ammonia and alcohol into your system. And ammonia and alcohol would definitely kill off a tank. The best thing to do is just be safe. Put your beads of silicone in and just let the thing cure for a week, 2 weeks. Smell it. The process of ammonia and in a tank, you can stick your head in the tank and take a big whiff. If you smell anything at all, it's not fully cured. It's still outgassing. If you have no smell, no odors, zero anything, then you're probably relatively safe. Give it a couple more days just to be on the safe side. I mean, why be in a rush and hurt your stuff? So again, that's my conclusion on what's going on with these tanks. The antifungal that people keep saying stay away from, that's all crap. Don't worry about that. That doesn't leach anything into the water. It doesn't leach anything into the system. The antifungal is a chemical process during the curing of the silicone. This has antifungal in it. And the antifungal that is in this, and this is used in a ton of tanks online. Lots of saltwater tanks, lots of freshwater tanks. Lots of professionals use this. Lots of professional tank manufacturers and whatnot use this silicone, and this has antifungal in it, the same antifungal chemical that's in all other GE products. At least according to the data sheet, it's the exact same chemical compound. So, my point there is, it's the antifungal thing is just a structural integrity of the actual chemical bond that, when it's done, it makes it less porous, makes it less less friendly for mold and things to grow on it. It doesn't actually kill things. It doesn't actually have a chemical bleeding property or some like spraying mosquito repellent on your skin. It's nothing like that. It is merely the fact of that it has a zero. Excuse me. It has a curing process chemical in it that once it becomes stable and once it becomes inert, it just is antifungal. That has to do with, again, the way the chemical compound molecularly bonds. So, yeah, a lot of simple tests. I mean, I have access to some laboratory equipment, so I can do a little bit of in-depth tests, but a lot of this stuff on the internet, guys, is just a bunch of guesses. People try something and it wipes out a tank. They don't know why. They point their fingers, and all of a sudden, there's just, I mean, people don't want to waste thousands of dollars worth of stuff when somebody says that it might be because of this. And that's understandable, but it's not a well-founded fear. So, I mean, take my word for what you will. Use the products that you think are safe, but you know, the properties of silicone is that it's an inert material. I mean, that's why people use silicone in so many different things. That's why people have silicone breast implants and whatnot, because it's safe. Breast implants is a bad example because it's actually not cured when it goes in the actual thing. But anyway, yeah, here's my tank. I believe this is part 5. Got a few tests on the horizon. Got a whole thread of this on Piranha Keepers forum in the tank setups do-it-yourself section. Got a thread for this build and have a thread for my acrylic silicone tests. So, I mean, that's all I got right now. When I get more results, and right now I'm just waiting. I got time. I got to wait on time. Things to cure and things to set, really. So when that's all done, I will throw up another video. And thanks, guys. Appreciate you putting up with my long-winded videos. Take it easy, guys. Bye.